Hello, fellow PA513 classmates and Dr. Collins. This video briefly introduces 3 topics or concepts that I've found most interesting and have caused me to give further consideration. That said, I do recognize that they may not be the most important in the big picture, but I did find them interesting. Let's get started. In Chapter 2, Birkeland focuses on the influences of public policy. He starts with the structural environment. He brings up the obvious, the basic structures that we're most familiar with, being the federalism and the separation of power. But then I like that he goes beyond that and he emphasizes that there's the influence of legal structures that provide policymaking rules. He references the open meetings laws and the Freedom of Information Act. These rules were designed to shine a light on the activities or actions of government and allow citizens easier access to follow along or even contribute to their destiny. On the bright side, some citizens gain seats at the table and government is working in a far more transparent environment. The unfortunate reality that is in today's world, it seems that the virtue of patience is lost. People expect, want, and sometimes even demand instant change or gratification. Finding a balance between the time it takes to create and enact policy and allowing for full disclosure and public contribution is a science all of its own. In some cases, the regulations extend the policy change timelines as policymakers have to acknowledge and consider public comments and then revise proposed policy before it can be adopted. When I think about the Freedom of Information Act, there's considerable effort and care that must go into releasing the proper information as requested in a safe, responsible, and timely manner. Data and privacy considerations are among some of the top concerns. Another topic that piqued my interest is the trend in this social environment related to our population. More specifically, the age distribution of our population now and in the coming years. Birkeland points out that our population growth rate has really stayed pretty steady since the 1960s at around 1%. However, the graph he shared highlighting the breakdown of age groups shows that our population is aging fairly rapidly. He noted that in 1980, more than half of the population was under the age of 35, and by 2000, the reverse is true. More than half of the population is older than 35. A couple of items stood out to me. One is I feel like we should definitely anticipate to see policies to begin leaning toward addressing the needs of an aging population. This is a very large group of people and they will have a very large voice, so I think it just seems somewhat like common sense. But I think at the same time we have to be really careful about policies that we make to change today's aging population and look even further into the future to recognize what that impact is going to be on generations to come, and the policies that we enact today have to be sustainable. We can't fix something today that's going to be disastrous tomorrow. So, granted, policies can be revised, but sustainability has to be woven into the policy up front. The final item I'll share is brief but important. Birkeland covers the topic of conditions versus problems and how we determine if something's a problem. Oftentimes he indicates that we use symbols and numbers, which is not surprising, but he does emphasize that the importance of asking the right questions. Are our measures accurate? Are we measuring the proper things? He cites the work from Deborah Stone, reminding us of the difference between data and information, right? Data it must be interpreted to become information. Data without interpretation is simply raw numbers. there's not a lot of meaning to a column of numbers. One of the examples that he shares is how some analysts tie the state of our country's well-being to the gross domestic product or to the stock market. Does a high GDP reflect that our country is doing well? That's one of the questions he asks. And I think it's really, really smart, because why is it? What is it about the GDP that has a direct correlation to the overall well-being of our country? I think that is still up for debate. It is important to know what's behind the data and to keep the interpretations as true and relevant as possible. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you around.